Hey, what's up guys, it's Apollo Uchiha here, back with the next part of What If Naruto Had Asuras Memories. And before continuing this, I would just like to apologize because today was going to be a movie night. And yeah guys, I'm just mentally exhausted, so yeah, I can't come up with any idea. Hopefully in the future I will upload more this month, movies that is. And yeah guys, Happy New Year to you all, and that's pretty much it. And if you haven't, please leave a like and subscribe to my channel. And without further ado, let's continue with our story. Obviously, Hajime. The two opponents flew towards each other, with Naruto closing the gap first due to his immense speed. They exchanged blows rapidly, and the Uzumaki was fighting his opponent with only a single hand, as his other hand was still on the sheathed Elucidator. Naruto went for a low kick, which Kiba countered by pushing his foot away. Naruto executed a front flip, stretching out his leg in a next kick. Kiba gasped when he saw the speed at which it was coming and took two steps back. Naruto's foot missed the Inuzuka narrowly and smashed into the arena floor. The impact caused the tiles to shatter into smithereens. The Uzumaki capitalized on the stunned Kiba and tossed his sword upwards before lunging at him with a palm thrust. Luckily for Kiba, his hand raised in time and intercepted the thrust. However, the strength behind it was far too great and launched the Inuzuka into the arena while 10 meters away. It was at this moment that Akamaru jumped at him with a feral snarl to protect his master. With both hands, Naruto caught his sword by the handle and swung it in a wide arc such that the sheath disengaged from the blade. The adamantine sheath plunged into the small white ninken, its weight throwing the dog off his trajectory. Kiba got up with a kuna in hand and began an assault on Naruto. The Uzumaki fended off the Onizuka strike easily, definitely parrying any swipe or slash from him. Suddenly, Kiba leapt back and landed on all fours. He shouted, "Beast mimicry, ninja art, all force jutsu." With incredible, unpredictable speed, Kiba launched at Naruto, knocking his sword out of his hand and landing on him. Kiba raised a fist and struck the Uzumaki with a great force, causing him to disperse into smoke. Surprised, he looked up, just in time to see the real Naruto land a strike on his stomach. The Uzumaki whispered, "Come in." Before sweeping his legs from under him, the Inuzuka landed on the floor, after which Naruto gave him a kick and raised his hand skywards. Chakra amassed quickly in his right hand, his forearm glowing orange. He plunged his fist to the right side of Kiba's head, causing the surrounding grey ground to explode in a show of potent chakra. The Nizuka surrendered hastily. "Proctor, I forfeit this match." Hayate nodded in acknowledgement as Naruto smiled, his outstretched right arm dimming while he forced the seal of reconciliation with Kiba. Gripping the Inuzuka's hand, he then pulled him up to a standing position. "You did a good job, Kiba. Your Shikoyaku was impressive." The Inuzuka laughed, exclaiming, "You did even better than me. That chakra fist was sick." Naruto smirked in amusement, not bothered to hear as the proctor announced his victory. To the mirth of the spectators, the two combatants retrieved their respective companions and equipment before ascending their stairs together, sharing a conversation. Hayate smiled. This was what it meant to be a shinobi, burden in arm. His attention returned to the flashing screen, which dictated that the next two opponents, the 8th match, Hyuga Hinata of Konohagakure versus Neji Hyuga of Konohagakure. Hinata, the shy Byakugan princess, gasped and was taken back by the matchup. She was fearful of her cousin, who was giving her a cold stare. As both met at the arena floor, Neji started by saying, "Hinata-sama, this is your chance to give up and forfeit, but you are a weakling. Fate has already declared me the winner of this match. I promise you I will not hesitate to end your life." Naruto called from the spectator platform as he stood next to Sayuri. "What the heck is he saying? Isn't she his own cousin? His own flesh and blood?" Sayuri sighed, but kept quiet, opting to activate her Sharingan to observe their movements. This match would be interesting to watch given the Hyuga clan prominent taijutsu style, the Juken. It was the most reputable and fearsome taijutsu style in all of Konoha due to its ability to inflict several internal trauma with minimum external force, as well as the manipulation of an opponent's chakra pathway system. Hinata glanced at Naruto before looking back to her cousin with a determined expression. "Najini-san, I will not give up, for that is my ninja way. I will not lose to you." She adjusted into her Juken stance, most of the basic stance that is. Neji narrowed his eyes. "Very well then. You'll soon realize a person who is born weak cannot change his fate. Hajime, the proctor announced. Byakugan, both Yuga members called. The veins at the sides of their eyes bulged as their clan's Kekigenkai activated all-seeing wide eye, which penetrated anything and everything. Immediately, both closed the gap between them and engaged in a high-speed taijutsu match. Chakra flew all around them due to their ability to release chakra from their tenketsus, knots along the chakra pathway system from which chakra can be released. Blows were exchanged, most deflected or parried. Neji waved in and out of Hinata's attacks, easily showed himself to be the superior fighter of the two. For a moment, Hinata shot out with a palm burst. However, her cousin sidestepped and caught it with his left hand, using his right to strike her outstretched arm. She winced visibly in pain as one of her chakra points were shut down, disrupting the flow of chakra there. His right hand switching quickly from a two-finger jab to a straight hand, which he used to chop her in the neck swiftly. Within the next few seconds, his right hand flew to her chest, jabbing and sending chakra to her heart. Then, he flattened his hand into a thrust, creating an explosion of chakra which sent the Yuga heroes flying back. Nata crashed onto the floor and blood began to dripping profusely from her mouth. Sayuri narrowed her eyes as they transitioned to their most powerful form, giving her the insight that Neji had used chakra to damage her heart and surrounding vital organs. The Byakugan princess began short breath and fast as she began to find breathing difficult. Neji tilted his head and said, "Didn't I warn you to expect die from defying faith, Hinata-sama?" Despite her poor condition, Hinata coughed out. No, Neji-ni-san. I will never give up." Slowly standing up, Neji's eyes narrowed in anger. "How dare you defy fate? A weakling is always be a weakling." At his Naruto grips on the reeling titan in rage, Neji took a step forward and lunged towards Hinata, intending to kill her. Suddenly, he found himself restrained by four Jonins. In a blur of speed, he also saw Naruto appear, standing in a protective stance in front of vulnerable Heres. His eri were orange, with a single horizontal bar and a slit over it in a black cross shape in each. That chakra, so powerful. Is his blood worthy, mother? Thought the psychotic Jinchuriki to himself. A deep voice replied, "Yes, indeed. But this one, is different. Watch him, but do not fight him." "Yes, mother." Naruto glared at Neji angrily. Having deactivated his intent to kill the Yuga Heres through his ability to sense negative emotions, "Neji, I could see that murderous rage in your eyes. I could feel your intent to kill your own cousin. How could you do this to Hinata, your own flesh and blood?" Naruto shouted angrily. Neji struggled against his restraints, angering by the blonde before him. "Is this the special treatment the main house gets? Looks like fate really is a cruel, unchanging master. No, Neji. She tried to fought you hard and didn't give up, even when her lungs were failing her. Why would you do something so despicable as that to murder your own kin, especially for something as stupid as resisting her fate?" Neji shook his head. "Scum, you are also a failure. You'll never understand your fate. Sticks with you till your death. Changing it is futile." Naruto scowled at him, as did the proctor and rest of the Jonins. "You clearly won, and there was no need for more violence." Hayate spat before declaring in disgust, "Shosha, Neji Yuga." Neji finally gave up struggling, and the Jonins let go after the medic ninja carried Hinata away. "Yuga, Neji, I will defeat you at the finals and show you that hard work beats talent," vowed Naruto, who then returned to his spot in the stands. Meanwhile, Sayuri's hand pushed her half-drawn Chikoto back into his sheath. No longer seeing the need to intervene, her vermilion eyes returned to inky black pools. The board resumed, flashing with names, though everyone already knew who would be the last two fighters, as they were the only ones left. Final match of the preliminaries: Rock Lee of Konohagakure versus Sabuko Nogara of Sunagakure. The redhead grinned demonically as he made his way down to the arena floor, a stark contrast to the overexcited Lee, who had been waiting enthusiastically for his turn. "Hajime, I'm Rock Lee, and I am most excited to fight you, Gara-san," the Konohanin declared. The redhead murmured, "Entertain me." At once, the taijutsu specialist took off forward towards Gara, spinning in a roundhouse kick. "Leaf Hurricane!" Lee exclaimed. Sand shot up in response, blocking his kick from connecting. The Konohanin then tried repeatedly to land a punch or a kick on Gara, but it was to no avail, as the sand automatically came to his aid and defense. For the next 10 minutes, Lee unsuccessfully attempted to get past the Tsunanin's guards. Finally, the redhead spoke. Is that all you got? I was expecting more. There isn't enough blood yet. With a wave of his hand, sand gushed out of his ground. Rushing towards Lee, the Konhanin backflipped out of the way, jumping out of the reach of the sand. He then landed on the top of the Sandam statue in the arena. Looking to his sensei, Taijutsu expert Kai. Kai-sensei, may I? Kai waved him off, replying, no, need to ask. Go for it, Lee. Lee nodded and reached for his orange leg warmers before withdrawing a set of weights from each one. Holding both setups, he then let go. Two weights crashed onto the floor with a large, loud boom. Leading every spectator stared in amazement. Kakashi looked at Kai and said, sweat drop. Don't you think that's a little too much, Kai? That Taijutsu specialist shook his head, responding to, no, my youthful rival. You must understand that like me, Lee is unable to use ninjutsu or genjutsu, and can only rely on taijutsu. So in order to progress into chunin level, his taijutsu must be of higher standards than average chunin. Kakashi shook his head in amusement, his eyes returning to the fight. Now Lee took off with great speed towards Gaara, becoming a blur. He blitzed the Tsunanin, going faster than the sand could keep up with its defense. Finally, Lee threw a right hook, sending Gaara flying. The redhead growled as he got up, revealing cracks across his face. Much to everyone's shock, pieces of his face began to crumble and turn brown and fall off, revealing his true skin underneath. Sarah narrowed her eyes. An armor made of sand. She could already tell since from the start of the battle, he was coated from head to toe with chakra. Naruto, on the other hand, was more concerned with the spike of the amount of bloodlust and malevolent chakra he detected. He narrowed his eyes, giving his opponent defense. He would require a more powerful technique. He crossed his hands in front of him and looked down, closing his eyes and focusing an overload and opening the first gate. Kaimon! Kai! Gates of opening. Naruto looked to Kakashi for an explanation on what was going on. Sayuri, on the other hand, could observe it with her own eyes. The 8 gates are 8 specific tenketsu on a person chakra pathway system, which limits to overall flow of chakra within a person's body. The basic for the idea of chakra gates comes from the body limits of the functions within it. This makes the body much weaker, but it keeps the body from experiencing too much. By understanding and undergoing intense training, one can learn how to open them, allowing the user to surpass their own physical limits at the cost of extreme damage to their own body. Due to immense amount of chakra flooding to the body all at once, drastic changes can occur upon the user's body. The most common of these changes are the change of the color of skin, eruption of veins around the temples, and the eyes turning completely white. Explained Kakashi. Guy counted. The 8 gates are, in order, the Kaimon, Kyumon, Gate of Healing, Saimon, Gate of Life, Shomon, Gate of Pain, Tomon, Gate of Closing, Kimon, Gate of Joy, Kyomon, Gate of Wonder, Shimon, Gate of Death. Opening all gates will result in power surpassing the Kages at the cost of death. Naruto nodded. I see, Kakashi-sensei, Guy-sensei. Thank you. Lee sprinted towards Gaara and prepared his forbidden technique. With blinding speed, the Konohanin breached the redhead's barrier and executed a swift mule kick, tossing the redhead skywards. Lee repeatedly kicked the Jinchuriki up, putting great strain on his body. As he did so, he winced in pain as both he and his target finally reached the ceiling. Lee appeared behind Gaara in a flash of speed, screaming, "Shadow of Dancing Leaf!" His body mimicked the redhead's exactly as a rolls of bandages around his forearms unraveled, swirling around Gaara and binding him. The pair divided headfirst towards the ground and spun rapidly. Ometo Renji, primary lotus. Just before they hit the concrete, the Konohanin rapidly detached himself and flipped out of the way. The redhead, wrapped in bandages, crashed onto the hard floor, causing the tiles to explode. As the bandages fall away, they revealed an empty shell of sand that was falling apart. Lee thought, so that wasn't the real Gaara. When did he... Kuso, when I winced earlier, he must have substituted then. From behind, he heard the sound of sand rushing towards him. He flipped far away before landing out of the reach of the sand. Gaara looked at him with intimidating, bloodthirsty eyes. Mother wants your blood. Sand tsunami. The floor erupted with sand rising to a huge wave headed towards Lee. The Taijutsu specialist closing his eyes before reaching a quick decision. Kyumon! Kai! Simon, Kai, Shaman, Kai! His hand that reached about to reach was thrown back by immense blast of wave of chakra exploded from Lee, whose body was shrouded in a greenish vapor. The Kohanin's face was red from the increased blood flow. He stared at Gara, shouting, "The lotus of leaf blooms twice!" Before anyone could decipher the cryptic meaning behind his sentence, Lee disappeared in a burst of speed. Suddenly, a loud boom resounded in the area as Lee launched a kick to the Gara's chin with enough force to send him higher into the air. Then once again, he disappeared and reappeared around the redhead, contracting him with blows each time he crossed the Sunanin. Finally, he wrapped Gara in bandages and pulled the redhead towards him. With great speed and power, Lee performed a kick and a punch at the same time. "Hidden Lotus!" exclaimed Lee as Gara was launched towards the ground. The gourd on his back dissolved into sand, cushioning his fall. Nothingness, the impact left him smarting with intense pain. Lee was in much pain as Gara was due to the drawbacks of 8 gates. He collapsed on the floor in incredible agony, rendering him immobile. Gara had tilted to look at his opponent as both lay on the floor. He raised his right hand, gesturing it towards Lee. "Sand coffin!" he yelled in heavy breaths. Sand flew towards Konoha, intending to bind him within the clutches. Gara decided to take action. In a flash, he appeared in front of Lee and knocked out the sand. Gara looked at Guy, silently demanding an explanation for why his behavior was this. "Why do you protect him so?" Guy replied firmly, "Because Lee is my student. He is precious to me." Gara's eyes widened. "Precious?" Then he responded as he stood up, "Forget it." He began to walk away as the proctor announced, "As Rock Lee of Konagakure is unable to continue, the winner is Sabuku no Gara of Sunagakure." As medics brought Lee away, Hayate continued, "This concludes the preliminaries of the third stage of the Chunin exams. All victors, please report here now." The 8 victors stepped forward. They were asked to write their names on a piece of paper, which were then balloted to decide the matchup of the finals. First match, Yuga Neji vs Uzumaki Naruto. Second match, Sabuko no Kankuro vs Aburame Shino. Third match, Sabuko no Temari vs Nara Shikamaru. Fourth match, Uchiha Sayuri vs Sabuko no Gara. The victor from match 1 will fight that of match 2, and the same for matches 3 and 4. The victor of the matches 5 and 6 will then engage in match 7, the final match determining a final winner for the Chunin exams. The finals will be held in about 3 weeks' time on Saturday, the 12th of July. The Kazekage will be present as well as the degenerates from other lands and villages. So do exhibit your village's powers. Good luck training and see you in 3 weeks' time. You are dismissed. The various teams left the tower to return their usual business. Sakura left for home while Sayuri went to train with Kakashi. It had been 6 days since Naruto had went home and he was eager to take a hot bath. Kurama remarked, "Kid, why not head to the Konoha hot springs?" The blonde nodded mentally. "Thanks, that's a good idea, Kurama-san." The fox grunted, refusing to vocalize the reply. Was he actually getting warm and cuddly with his Jinchuriki for the first time in shinobi history? Asura smiled and patted the giant fox on his paw gently. The Otsutsuki laughed as the Kyuubi glared at him. Konoha hot springs. Naruto strode towards the traditional bathhouse before noting something odd. There was a male chakra signature near a whole lot of females. That wasn't a mixed bath. Naruto's eyebrow twitched as he noticed a man perched on a tall tree growing next to the female side of the onsen. He was a middle-aged man looking around 50 years of age. He had long, spiky white hair and donned a short green kimono shirt and pant with a red haori over it. The most distinct feature were the red lines running down his eyes, his headband with the kanji for oil as well as the U scroll on his back. In his hand was a small binocular, which was clearly aimed at the unsuspecting girls below. Kono hentai. Naruto swore under his breath based on his sensory powers. However, he could tell that his man was powerful, perhaps on the level of Kakashi Sensei or beyond. As such, he snuck up the tree as stealthily as possible. Surprisingly, he actually made it behind the man without being noticed, probably because the man was engrossed with the voyeurism. With a kick to his ass, Naruto launched the man sailing through the roof to the bathhouse, resulting the man crashing into the onsen where the ladies were bathing. Defying screams ensued from sounds of severe beatings were heard as feminine justice was exacted. The blow smarted when the bruised man walked towards him, scowling. That'll teach you. to spy on women, pervert, said Naruto. The man raised an eyebrow before replying. I'm not a pervert. Then he jumped, clapping his wooden sandals together and landed in a dramatic kabuki pose. I'm a super pervert without an equal, the band proclaimed with a glee. I'm Giraffe the Sanin, Kama-Sanin of Konoha. Naruto resisted the urge to facepalm. This is Jiraiya, he thought. Well, at least that explains his chakra. Jiraiya narrowed his eyes at the blonde, muttering, You look familiar. Suddenly his eyes went comically wide as he recognized the origin of the resemblance. Are you Uzumaki Naruto? Naruto nodded, curious as to how the Toad Sage knew. Jiraiya continued, Sarutobi-sensei has told me much about you. And he told me when I came back yesterday to train you personally for the Chunin exam's final. So quickly, but I just ended the preliminaries. How did he know that I would pass? Wait, unless he already had faith that I would pass. Naruto thought. The blonde then smiled. Despite him not wanting to be under the tutelage of such a pervert, he decided to do so since the Sandam had wished for it. Alright then, let's begin. But do you know anything about my current abilities? Jiraiya shook his head, replying, Sarutobi-sensei said that you would tell me yourself, and that it would be very interesting. Given that the Hokage trusted this man, Naruto chose to do as well. They went to a secluded training ground where he explained all his abilities from the 6 paths down to his kenjutsu. That's a very interesting skill set. First, I would like you to sign the Toad Summoning Contract. As the name suggests, doing so will allow you to summon the legendary Toads of Mobukuzan, Mount Miyaboku, to aid you in combat, and you will also learn to become a proper sage by mastering the manipulation of natural energy, giving you current situation with the 6-path sage mode. You have not finally and fully explored the potential of senjutsu yet. So that's what we'll be going to do for the first week. In the second week, we'll be working on expanding your ninjutsu arsenal, and on the third week, taijutsu will be the focus. All of your training will be complete on Mobukuzan, where the time passes more quickly. A week here is a month there. Any questions? Naruto shook his head, but noted that he would miss his teammates, and for some reason, especially for Sayuri, perhaps because the time of the finals was drawing near, and once she got promoted to a Chunin, he tried to ignore the thought, and instead paid attention to what Jiraiya was going to say. The Toad Sign swept his thumb across his canine, drawing blood. He then flashed through a series of hand seals before slamming his right hand onto the ground. As he said, Summoning Jutsu, an array of Jutsu's shiki spread out of the impact. Some summoning smoke filled the area as a giant orange toad appeared. Gamma, may I have the contract, please? Jiraiya requested. The toad opened his mouth, withdrawing a scroll with its tongue and laying it down on the floor. Ignoring the fact that the scroll just came out of Toad's mouth, the Toad Sage rolled it open to reveal vertical columns to write names in it, of which only 5 were filled so far. Naruto was awed when he saw the Yondaim's name on the last column. His idol was a Toad Summoner? Heck yeah! The blonde was excited and asked, So, what do I do? Jiraiya smirked in amusement and responded, Draw some blood and write your name on it. Then imprint all your fingerprints on the hand you would like to use the summoning technique with. Naruto did as told, though he had trouble drawing blood as the wound he made quickly closed up. He could foresee having the bite of a phalanx to draw sufficient blood before it grew back. Now, the size of your summon demands on how much chakra you put in onto the jutsu. Go ahead and try. The hand seals are boar, dog, bird, monkey, and ram. Jiraiya urged. Naruto decided to start small and drew on a small drop of his humongous reserves. Kyochise no Jutsu, a small puff of smoke went into the air, revealing a young orange toad with purple markings around his eyes, mouth, and stomach. Hey! The toad spoke, looking around to see who summoned him. You must be the new summoner. I'm Gamakichi, son of Gamabunta, the boss summoned. The blonde Uzumaki smiled brightly to Gamakichi and said, I'm Uzumaki Naruto. Nice to meet you. Sorry for disturbing you. I am only summoning you to test out the jutsu. Here's a treat. Naruto grabbed a sweet from his pocket and handed it to Gamakichi, who popped it into his mouth. I'm starting to like you already, Naruto. I'd like to be your personal summon. What do you think? The Uzumaki agreed. Sure, just no formalities. Please? Then the same, Naruto-kun. You can call me Kichi. See ya. The toad disappeared in a puff of smoke. The corner of Gama's mouth curled upwards at witnessing the new summoner's warmth and kindness towards his summon. Seeing his job done, he took back the scroll and dispelled as well. Naruto, you'll need a lot more chakra to summon the chief toad. Try again, Jiraiya said. Naruto nodded and channeled an amount of chakra 100 times the previous amount. Kachise no jutsu! The Uzumaki yelled and woke a large haze of chakra lay smoke to pile. When it cleared, a giant toad, even bigger than Gamma, materialized. He was the color of rust and bright red markings around his eyes. On his lips and on his chest, there was a scar over his left eye, and he also donned a blue hippie vest. He carried massive doso blade at his hip and a large kesru pipe in his mouth, which emitted smoke. The chakra that summoned me wasn't Jiraiya's, the toad remarked. Jiraiya replied hastily, Bunta, the newest summoner. Uzumaki Naruto was the one who summoned you. Kamamuta turned to the face to blonde in question. Naruto gave a smile in response. It's an honor to meet you, Kamabunta-sama. The Uzumaki greeted respectfully. The chief toad took a puff of his pipe as he observed the boy carefully. Uzumaki, huh? I've never heard that in quite a while. Jiraiya knew what was on the boy's mind and silently signaled him to keep it a secret. Kamamuta complied and said, Naruto, in order for me to approve you as our new summoner, you must stay on my back for the next 2 hours. 2 seconds later, the chief toad found the Uzumaki on his back, as fast as his father, thought the boss, summoned as he started to leap around the training ground in an attempt to throw the toad latest summoner off of his back. 2 hours later, Kamabunta panted hard, doing his last leap before deciding to halt. A triumphant Naruto stood on his back. Fine, accept you as our new summoner. Do not summon me unless you have a battle to fight or sake to drink. Naruto jumped off the chief toad's back as he responded, As you wish, Kamabunta-sama. You can cut the formalities, I'll be off now. Jiraiya started. Actually, he explained his idea of Naruto's planning to train to Bunta, who agreed. I'll dispel back to Mount Miyaboku and use the Yukaku Kichise no Jutsu, reverse summoning jutsu, to bring you all there. See you. Minutes later, the 2 toad summoners were brought to the mystical sage region. Naruto was introduced to the 2 great sage toads, Shima and her husband Fukusaka. The blondes also met the great toad sage, Kamamaru, the oldest and most respectable toad of all the inhabitants of Mount Miyaboku. Child of prophecy, Kamamaru greeted. Jiraiya flinched. Kamamaru-sama, are you sure he's the one? I can feel it. One of the children are here. Naruto looked at Jiraiya for an explanation. The great prophecy stated that 2 children with immense power will hold the fate of the world in their hands, becoming either the savior or its destroyer. One of them is destined to be a student of mine. Asura-kun, the ancient toad sage croaked. Are you there? Naruto suddenly felt an urge surged in his body, like something was possessing him. His movements were not his own, neither was his own voice. Hi, Ogama-sama. Naruto-kun is my transmigrant. The toad sage nodded slowly and took a long pause before saying to Jiraiya, Proceed with training as soon as possible. I'm sure he's the one. And one of them, the savior, I'm more afraid of. The other one, the great toad sage spoke. The other one, like a curse word, making Naruto shudder as he could infer who he was talking about. Indra. Naruto gasped, finding his voice return to him. Indeed, the great toad sage responded before falling silently. Naruto kept as quiet, not wishing to elaborate to Jiraiya who Indra transmigrant was. Jiraiya frowned before carrying on. Alright then, we shall start as there is no time to waste. Kamamaru spoke once more. One last thing. Shima-kun, Fukusaka-kun, gave Naruto the Rikodo-sanin Chisego blurred out. The 2 great sage toad hesitated before deciding to comply. With the ultimate authority order, they brought Naruto to the sacred oil fountain, where a waterfall of oil gushed into a pool surrounded by hundreds of toads and human stone statues. Jiraiya explained, every one of these statues are once a living thing. They died learning senjutsu as they were unable to control the influx of nature energy, which led to petrification. Fukusaka and Shima weaved hand seals, activating a jutsu which caused the waterfall to split. This revealed a cave, behind it lit by torches. The 4 entered the cave, the centerpiece of which was a sword laid on the stone. This, Fukusaka said, is the Chisagan, a relic from the Sage of the 6 Paths forged by him as a gift for Mount Miyaboku. He said to Kamamaru-sama that one day a person born of his blood would be worthy to wield her and save the world. Naruto couldn't help but feel a sense of attraction to the holy blade. Despite the darkness of the cave, she emitted a glow of her own. The sword is imbued with the soul of every toad or human that has died trying to learn senjutsu. Yes, those outside the cave before beginning their training. They swore a blood oath to give their souls to the Jaegersun upon their death, so that at least their deaths would be meaningful, hence the name Blood Oath. Shima continued, there are 4 conditions guarding the usage of the Chisegan. First, she can only be wielded by one of her noble blood, that is, a descendant of Otsutsuki Hagoromo. Secondly, the blade must not be exposed to the light of day. The reasoning behind she is meant to be used when the world plunges into darkness from infinite Tsukiyomi. Thirdly, the Chisegan cannot be drawn in the presence and knowledge of girls, who by definition are human females below the age of 18, so technically if they are unconscious then it doesn't count. Lastly, once the blade is drawn, she will not return to its sheath until it tastes bloods. Fukusaka explained, Shima warned, to break any of these conditions is to break the blood oath sworn by all souls within the blade, causing the Chisegan to dissolve and consume her owner and user, which is pretty bad since she and her master will be instrumental in the fight against Otsutsuki Kaguya, the mother of Riko Torosani. Naruto inquired, what is this Mugen Tsukiyomi? And why will we fight the Riko Torosani's mother? Shira sighed and elaborated, it has been prophesied that the return of Kaguya will be literal and of the world as well. Legend has it that Kaguya was influenced by the Shinju, the first being to possess chakra in its fruits. She consumed its fruits and single-handedly brought an end to all wars on Earth through the Mugen Tsukiyomi, a powerful genjutsu which ensnared every single human being and put them into a dreamlike state made of their hopes and ambition. Eventually they turned into lifeless, white creatures and, with green hair, known as white zetsus, which obeyed the caster's bell and will. To keep humanity alive, she released some of them from the genjutsu and wiped their memories. However, she soon became power-hungry and consumed more and more of them and these chakra fruits, which corrupted her greatly. She bore 2 twin sons, Hagoromo and Hamura, the later of which gave the rise to Hyuga clan, and soon became clear that it was necessary to stop her. The twins joined forces and fought against their mother, who had merged with Shinju to form the Jubi. Together they sealed their mother with 6-path planetary devastation, a powerful fuinjutsu which encased her within what is known today as the moon, the sage of the 6th path that extracted the chakra of the Jubi and split it into 2 nine-tailed beasts. The empty husk, known as the Gerumazo, was sent into another dimension only accessible to users of the Rinnegan. However, prophecy dictates that Kaguya will return one day to cast the infinite Tsukiyomi again, and the only people who can stop her are the aforementioned children of the prophecy. Do you see now why the Chisegan is so important? Naruto nodded. But all these conditions and the consequences seem pretty serious, and it doesn't seem worth to risk the draw blade. There must be a huge advantage to make it worth the drawing, right? Fukusaka nodded. You are correct. Firstly, the Chisegan is the sharpest blade in the human realm, fashioned out of the Kakemora of the Riko Torosani. She is said to be so sharp that a single strand of hair falling on the edge would be cleft into twins. Second, she acts as a storage of chakra and is attuned to the user's chakra, which flows into her naturally. Lastly, any wound made by Chisegan will siphon chakra from the victims into her blade. The wound will not close either, and will continue to bleed even if you try to use your yang power on it. You'll come to realize that any attack augmented with the power of the 6 paths cannot be healed by your yang power alone. Asura spoke. He's right, there are more power and some things that my yang power cannot heal. However, said Shima, certainly, that is why the Chisegan comes with the Chisegan stone, which is at the tip of the sheath. The Chisegan stone has 2 properties. It acts as a whetstone, allowing the sword to be sharpened again and again, and touching it to any wound made by the blade will close it and stop the damage. You can then use your yang power to fully heal someone. Naruto stepped forward, right before the sword. Can I test it out? Shima nodded. The blonde reached at the blade, his fist closed around the ornate hilt. As he did so, the Chisegan stone glowed and sent surges of power through the Uzumaki. Fukusaka announced solemnly, the blade has found a master in his hand. The blade felt physically lit but spiritually heavy, as he was aware of the many spirits fallen who have given their lives to empower the Chisegan. He looked around and realized she was placed in a cave lit only by torches, so as to allow her to be drawn within. His left hand closed around the sheath. With a firm pull, Naruto freed the sword from his scabbard. A loud, ringing sound ensued, and a huge wave of chakra radiated out, shaking the earth and causing the wind to roar wildly. The blonde Uzumaki admired the double-edged blade, a truly work of art. It was pitch black, like the Guro Dama, except from the Jutsushiki running along her central ridge, which glowed faintly in every shade of orange from amber to cadmium. It then occurred to him that he was the first to draw this sword after she had been gifted to Mobuzaken, meaning he was the first to see how she looked. Time to see if she saying about her sharpness is true. He brought the Chissigan in multimeter away from his finger. The other three watched with bated breath as Naruto closed the gap. The moment his finger came in contact with the blade, the razor-sharp edge created an incision with supernatural sharpness, tearing through his skin easily and rupturing numerous capillaries. An intense pain spiked through the body, like never before, as he had been thrown into a pool of boiling acid. Naruto stifled a scream. Fortunately, he had a high threshold for pain, or he might have cried out in agony in front of the sage's presence. Blood oozed out of the burst vessels, and as expected, steam rose from the wound as cells regenerated due to his rapid healing factor. However, the tear of wound widened insidiously, spreading faster than the cells could regenerate, so it is true. Shua remarked as he observed the refusal of the wound to close. Naruto grabbed the sheet and tapped his wound with the stone at the tips. Instantly it stopped bleeding, and within seconds its healing factor restored his finger to the original state. Fukusaka was no, that's the fastest healing factor I've seen. I cannot wait to train you, Naruto-chan. Naruto sheathed the holy blade and bowed to the elders. Thank you for this honor, Sanin-ji-chan. He smiled. Fukusaka began to instructions on senjutsu. Sages are people who can manipulate natural energy, which is energy in the environment. Mixing natural energy with normal chakra gives rise to sage chakra, which is much more potent and powerful, reaching a heightened state where the physical, mental, and natural energies in the body are in balance, in termed as sage mode, where all of your reflexes are enhanced, as well as your strength, speed, and stamina. Your ability to wield natural energy as a weapon will spare you in combat, and being able to detect natural energy will greatly enhance your sensory skills by expanding your range by at least a kilometer. Too much natural energy in one's body will cause petrification, but Asura-san has already gifted you with the body of a sage as part of your inheritance, so that you will not have a problem. Once you master how to balance the three energies perfectly, you will be able to properly utilize the six-path sage mode to its full potential. Shall we begin now? 3 months later, local time, Naruto followed through the fourth kata, smoothing, practicing its various stances and forms. Shima clapped in approval. Wonderful, Naruto-chan. You mastered the art quickly. Thank you, Sanin-ba-chan. But I am far from mastering it, Naruto responded. Fukusaka chuckled. Humble as always. Don't discredit yourself, though. You have truly reached the level of Shiraya in the Kawaza Kumite, which unprecedented speed. The frog kata was a taijutsu style for the throats, but it was mostly effective only in a sage mode. So Naruto had decided to incorporate into the Asura styles. As for his ninjutsu, he had learned many from Jiraiya and the throats of Mobuzaken, including many elemental sage and collaboration techniques. He had to admit he had never felt so alive, though it might sound cliche. He felt one with nature. Literally, the nature energy had some kind of regenerating property, which energized him and again, guiding him through his grueling trainings for the past 3 months. Naruto chuckled as he prepared to bid farewell to Mount Meiboku. After a month of harsh training and food definitely not meant for humans, he was eager to go home and eat some ramen and see his friends. He frowned as an image of Sayuri appeared in his head. What was wrong with him? He shook his head to remove his head from these thoughts. Mindscape. Kurama sighed intently. Oh boy. Asura laughed and commented, Kurama-kun, this is by fate. It may be predestined that they will unite to fight together against my grandmother. The Titanic force grumbled. That doesn't mean I have to like it. Come on, at least Sayuri is not as bad as Madara. The Kyuubi shook his head. I know she loves him, but I have a really bad feeling. Asura sighed and announced hurriedly, so do I. Reality. The blonde decided that he needed new clothes. Thankfully, he had not worn the diamond's present, but had gotten the Sandam birthday gift from years back, worn and torn. Due to the sentimental value it had, he decided to send it to a tailor for repair in a Henji, of course, while he wore the first daimyo had bestowed upon him for his upcoming battle. With his cloak and his sword was concealed along with the elucidator. Naruto smiled brightly as he left his home on the morning of the exams, ready to trash his Yuga opponent, like he promised with Sayuri. The past 3 weeks with Kakashi had been spent improving her taijutsu and honing her Mangekyo's ocular powers, as Kakashi had one in the possession and could perform Kamui. That coupled with her Rinnegan, she felt ready to face Suna Jinchuriki. She had gained confidence in her using abilities, and they would act as aces up her sleeve should they require him. Presently, she sat up in bed and pushed back her blanket. Her thoughts immediately flew to a certain blonde whom she had not seen for the 3 weeks. She shook her head, sighing. How would she bear 3 years if she couldn't even bear 3 weeks? Uchiha got out of the bed, distracting herself with the routine of dressing up. It was a warm Saturday morning on the 12th of July, and she definitely could not afford to be late of the finals. She had already seen the degenerates arriving at the village yesterday evening, staying for the nights as the finals were early in the morning. It was 8 and honor an hour to the finals. At the end of the day, she might or might not be a tuning, and at this point, she did not know which was better. The looming threat of the CRA was very real, and Naruto had yet to find a loophole. It looked like she would have to enact her plan. Besides, she still had a brother to kill. Sayuri opened her drawer with her right hand and deftly picked up a beautiful red and black kimono cord. Grabbing her hair, which with her left hand, she defiantly lashed the cord around and over it before tying the elaborate knot forming on ponytail. The Uchiha strode towards the door and picked up her chikoto from its mount and in the bedroom, trailing to her side. After leaving the house, she had a little breakfast before heading off to the stadium. Contrary to the light-hearted mood Naruto and Sayuri possessed at this moment, the leader of Sunagakure was on the other side of Konoha, chuckling to himself for a different reason altogether. Beneath his Kage robe's hat was a veil, which had a sinister smile. Sarutobi-sensei, I hope you like what I prepared for you. Konoha Gakure would know what hit them. As this is where I'm going to leave this part of, guys. I hope you like this one, and if you do, please leave a like and subscribe to my channel. And this is Apollo Uchiha, and I'm signing out. Peace.